Hello students, welcome to today's session of Strategize with Get.Set.Law. Today we'll be simplifying critical reasoning for you. Now I'm sure this is a section which has you on your toes because there is ample amount of reading involved, but along with that there is certain kind of logic as well. So let us begin by simplifying the entire section for you. Of course, it's an important section in CLAT. It has to be one of your strongest sections. Let's begin by talking about the type of question, the format of the question that you will be getting. First thing that you need to understand is the structure of the question. How will it be? First thing that you will see is the stimulus, which will be in the form of a paragraph or a passage. Now, the stimulus will tell you what the story is, what is the author's argument. If there is a research and there are multiple viewpoints, they will be told to you, and you must pay special attention to the stimulus. Okay. After reading the stimulus, we'll be going for the question stem. You can also follow the format in which you read the question stem first, or you could read the question stem later after reading the stimulus. Now, the question stem has to be read extremely carefully because it gives you an idea of what exactly are you supposed to do. Students have a tendency of missing a simple word which changes everything. So if it's a simple not or except, it might change a lot about the question. So please read the question stem carefully. And you will be getting 4 options. Naturally, those options are going to be really similar to each other. That is where all your reasoning skills come into play. So please ensure that you pay special attention to all the options and how they are different. This is the format of the question. Now, if I go into further detail, let me tell you how the stimulus is going to look like. It will have an argument, but what will be the structure of that argument? You will definitely have a conclusion. That is the whole point of having an argument, so that you can conclude something, right? It might be given in the beginning of the passage or at the end of the passage, but you would definitely have a conclusion. Now, in order to conclude something, you need supporting data. And what is that supporting data? Those are premises, right? Now, the premises which are given there are at your disposal, but then there are some hidden premises as well, which are called assumptions. So, there are 3 things to note here in an argument. You have a conclusion. To support a conclusion, you've got premises, and you also have some hidden premises which we call assumptions. Let us now talk about the most important question stems that you will be getting. See, there are a lot of questions that CLAT has been asking about the main idea, the main conclusion, the main argument, author's point of view, what will the author agree with, what will he disagree with. These are all centered around you knowing the main argument. This is definitely one of the most important question types that you should be prepared for. Okay. Now, as a future lawyer, they would definitely want you to support some argument and oppose certain argument. So there will be questions on strengthening, there will be questions on weakening. Please ensure that you are very well prepared with the methods used to support an argument or to weaken an argument. There will also be questions about inferences. They'll be giving you subtle hints and you'll have to infer something, right? Again, there will be questions on assumptions where you have to go into the background process of the author's thinking and try to come to an assumption, what he must have thought, what must necessarily be true for this conclusion to be true. Right? So you will be getting assumptions, there will be inferences. You will of course have to understand the main argument. You will also have to strengthen it, weaken it. Sometimes there is a flaw in the argument. If there is a fallacy, logical fallacy, you will be asked to identify the flaw. Okay. Now, sometimes there is a paradox in the question. Now, what is a paradox? It's a contradiction. And if there is a contradiction, you have to reconcile it. You have to resolve the paradox. That is another question type. So these are the most important question types, and I'm sure by now you have a general idea of how to deal with each. Now, as a sample, let's solve one passage together so that I can show you how to handle these questions. So this is the passage that I want you to read. You may pause the video for a couple of minutes. I don't think it should take you more than a couple of minutes. And you can just go through the passage, take a note of the main idea, what the author has here, and then come back to me for the questions. I think this is the point where you can pause the video. I hope you have read the passage now. I'm assuming that. Let us talk about the main idea of the passage first. What is author's argument? I'm not sure if you have read the title, but the title really helps. The title is How Stereotypes Affect Middle-Aged Women's Careers. So this is not about men. This is not about young women. It's about middle-aged women, how stereotypes are affecting their careers. Right? Now, what are the stereotypes that they are talking about? If you focus on the first paragraph, the stereotype that was mentioned was around their age and how less friendly they become. That was the first stereotype that we discussed. But then author said that when women transition from 30s to 40s, they are generally seen as getting less friendly. But once again, when they get back in their 60s, they are considered friendly again. They have that grandmotherly vibe around them. So that was one thing. Now, second paragraph introduces us to another stereotype around women, which is the motherhood penalty. It is generally believed that since women in their 30s are in their reproductive ages and they have got a family at home, they will not be giving career their utmost attention, and that's why they are not promoted beyond a certain point. They don't have access to those senior roles. So that is another stereotype that we dealt with here. Okay. It should seem like you that the author is a feminist, considering that this is the issue that he is raising. Now let's see the kind of questions that we'll be encountering. Let's discuss question number 1, students. Now let's read the question stem very carefully. Here you have to tell which option has to be true if the author's statements about gendered networks in the workplace are true. Okay. Now, first of all, try to differentiate between the options, between all the 4 options. Is it easy for women to get access to senior leaders? It is not easy as per the passage. So obviously I can eliminate option B and option D because they are saying it's easy for them. Now between A and C, I think this is how you generally proceed. You see the 2 options at the end and then you compare between those 2. Now between A and C, you would realize that A says new career opportunities are easier to come by for women. But that is not the case. It is harder to come by. That is why what should be the answer? It should be C. Let's move on to question number 2. Which of the following is most likely to be an outcome of what the author describes as the motherhood penalty? So if motherhood penalty is the cause, what should be outcome of it? What should be the result of it? Remember, motherhood penalty is not in favor of women. So of course, people will be more hesitant to hire women who are in their 30s because of the motherhood penalty. It will have no impact on men. Look for an option which is saying something similar and you would realize that option is B. So that is the correct answer. It's always a good idea to have a summary of the correct answer in your head beforehand, and then you look at the options and make an informed choice. This is what I like to call subjective before objective. So before you make that choice of the 4 options, you have a subjective answer in your head and then you match what you're looking for. Let's move on to the third question. If professors' evaluations are the most important criteria in awarding promotions, then which of the following would be the most likely outcome based on the information provided in the passage? Do you remember in the second paragraph, it was discussed that promotions again are a little hard for women to come by. They kind of hit a glass ceiling. And that is why the option which is saying something similar is option A. The effect is not same as for women. It is not the same for male professors. So male professors are likely to be promoted at an even rate. It wouldn't affect them. But women professors will experience a lower likelihood of promotion. That is what we are trying to say. Another quick advice, read the options very carefully. You will realize that the options are just a little bit different from the correct one. Yes? How are they a little bit different? Sometimes they are saying that women professors are likely to be promoted at an even rate. This is the exact opposite of option D. Let's eliminate this. And if you think that this was simple, let me remind you that this is a passage released as a sample paper question from the consortium itself. That means if they think that this is the level you should be prepared for, then you are good enough if you're able to handle this question. Let's move on to question number 4. Now that you understand author's argument, you have to tell which of the following is the author most likely to disagree with. What goes against his opinion? Now, if you remember the last part of the passage, there is another stereotype about women which says that pregnant women are generally considered very warm, but if they are towards their menopause, they are considered cranky and angry. Now, considering that thought, now let us read D. Women going through menopause are more likely to be perceived positively, which is the exact opposite of what he was trying to say. They are considered negative, not positive. Okay? So that's why once we know the main argument, we can handle both agreement and disagreement questions carefully. Now let us try to strengthen the main argument. Let us provide it some more support. And it's a very simple way of providing support to a certain research. If you say that several other independent researches were conducted and a similar result was found, then it becomes very easy to support that main argument. And that is why what becomes our answer? Option B. It says several independent studies conducted in different cities have shown the same finding, that women in the workplace are perceived negatively as they age. So there is a relationship between age and gender. That is what the finding of the research is. Now, if you remember Laura Cray's argument good for you, if you do not remember, just have a look at the questions, you will recall what she said. In question number 6, you have to weaken Laura's argument. And as I see the options, it is very obvious that her argument was about that grandmotherly age which women reach. Now, she was saying that during that time, women's popularity go up again. Why does it go up again? Because they are considered in a positive light. But if you want to weaken it, what could you say? You could change the perception altogether. Read option C. You could say that once they become grandmotherly, they are not considered loving and caring. Instead, all the negative qualities are associated with that. They are considered slow and inefficient, and that is why you are weakening, kind of attacking Laura's argument. So what did we see in this passage? We understood how to cherry pick the data which we need for our argument to make sense, for our argument to be a very simple argument for us to remember. Once we remember the main argument, we can definitely do questions like what will the author agree with, what will the author disagree with. Okay, so we can do that bit, and then it is about how to weaken it, how to strengthen it. I hope this exercise that we did together, which is from the latest sample paper that consortium released for the CLAT paper, will give you an idea of how to cope with this. I would like to end the session by just reminding you of a famous quote, because sometimes in critical reasoning this happens. You keep practicing, but you are somehow stuck at a certain score. You have reached a plateau and the score is not going beyond that. At those times, please remember that when nothing seems to help, I'm quoting, I go and look at a stone cutter hammering away at his rock, perhaps 100 times without as much as a crack showing in it. Yet at the 101st blow, what will happen? It will split into two. And I know it was not that last blow that did it, but all that had gone before. So keep putting on that effort. Maybe you're not seeing the result at the moment, but you will definitely see it on the CLAT day. That is my hope for you. On that note, I wish you very best of my wishes, and I'm sure you will do really well. I hope critical reasoning did get simplified for you a little bit. See you next time.